They have very little left, and they want to make a deal so badly. They called a little while ago. They want to make a deal so badly. I just don't know if they're worthy of making a deal. I don't know that they're going to honor the deal. That's the problem.
Whoa. Whoa.
For just a day, it seemed diplomacy still had a chance. Despite declaring the interim US-Iran agreement over, President Donald Trump had left the door open for negotiations. But now, the tone from Washington has changed dramatically. Trump has not only shared footage of fresh American strikes on Iran, he has also claimed that Tehran is now begging for a deal. At the same time, he warned that any future Iranian attack would be met with retaliation 20 times bigger. As US warplanes struck Iranian military targets for the second straight day, explosions rocked key cities along Iran's southern coast, while Tehran answered with fresh attacks targeting American interests in the Gulf. Is diplomacy collapsing? Is the Middle East heading toward an even wider conflict? And what exactly triggered this dangerous new escalation? Let's decode. Speaking aboard Air Force One, Donald Trump claimed that Iran had reached out to Washington seeking a deal. According to Trump, Tehran now wanted negotiations so badly, but he questioned whether Iran could be trusted to honor any agreement. The US president offered no details about who allegedly contacted Washington, but insisted he remained deeply skeptical of Iran's intentions.
We just hit them very hard, and I'd say we hit them 20-1. Every time they hit us, we're going to hit them 20. And we did it last night. It did a little something today, but it was really retribution for last night. They hit actually 3 boats, not 2. And when they hit, we hit back much harder. It's another way of doing it. We have many ways we can win, but we've already won militarily. They have very little left, and they want to make a deal so badly. They called a little while ago. They want to make a deal so badly. I just don't know if they're worthy of making a deal. I don't know that they're going to honor the deal. That's the problem.
Trump doubled down on his remarks by sharing images and videos of fresh US military strikes on Iranian targets. He projected confidence that Washington held the upper hand and suggested the latest operations demonstrated America's overwhelming military superiority. His message appeared aimed at increasing pressure on Tehran while reinforcing his claim that Iran now wanted negotiations. Trump also delivered one of his strongest warnings yet. He said any future Iranian attack on ships in the Strait of Hormuz would be answered with retaliation 20 times bigger. The threat marked another sharp escalation in rhetoric and suggested Washington was prepared to respond with overwhelming military force if tensions continued rising. The warning came as American forces carried out military strikes against Iran for the second consecutive day. US aircraft targeted an airbase near Iran-Shar that had reportedly been used by Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps. The operation followed earlier attacks launched after commercial shipping in the Strait of Hormuz came under fire. Iranian state media reported explosions across several strategic locations along the country's southern coastline. Blasts were reported in Bushehr, home to Iran's only nuclear power plant, as well as Bandar Abbas, Chabahar, Konarak, Sirik, and Keshem Island. The widespread attacks highlighted the expanding geographic scope of the confrontation. The Strait of Hormuz remains at the center of the crisis. Nearly 1/5 of the world's traded oil passes through this narrow waterway every day, making it one of the most strategically important maritime routes on the planet. Recent attacks on commercial tankers dramatically increased tensions and triggered the latest American military response. Iran responded by launching attacks targeting Bahrain, Kuwait, and Qatar, countries that host major American military facilities. Gulf governments activated air defense systems as missiles and drones approached their airspace. Kuwaiti authorities later confirmed their military was actively intercepting incoming threats, although there were no immediate reports of significant damage. Trump also renewed previous threats against Iran's civilian infrastructure. He warned that power stations, desalination plants, and even Karg Island, Iran's major oil export terminal, could become future targets if Tehran continued its military actions. He insisted that if the United States decided to act again, events would unfold very fast.
In one day, all of their anti-aircraft things are gone. That doesn't mean they're not going to get a plane at some point, but all of it's gone. Everything's gone. Their leaders are gone. They had leaders, they're gone, and they had another set of leaders, they're gone. Now they have another set of leaders, they may be gone. Who knows? And you know what? I may be gone too, because I'm their number one target. It's out all over the place. I'm their number one because they're scum. That's the way they act, and that's the way they've done it for 47 years.
Only a day earlier, Trump had declared the interim memorandum of understanding between Washington and Tehran over. However, he also said American negotiators could continue talking if they wished. The latest military escalation now raises fresh doubts about whether meaningful diplomacy can survive while both sides continue exchanging strikes. Iranian leaders strongly rejected Trump's latest claims and threats. Parliament Speaker Mohammad Bagher Ghalibaf insisted that Iran retained the right to control navigation through the Strait of Hormuz under Iranian arrangements. He warned that any further American attacks would receive a direct response, declaring that bullying would no longer go unanswered. Iranian Foreign Minister Sayed Abbas Araghchi accused Trump of insulting the Iranian people while attempting to intimidate the country through military pressure. He said Iran would answer threats not with insults but with action, describing the Iranian people as resilient and unwilling to surrender under foreign coercion. Deputy Foreign Minister Kazem Garibabadi also criticized Trump's language, arguing that years of sanctions, threats, and military pressure had failed to force Iran into submission. He claimed Washington misunderstood Iran's resolve and suggested that the United States understood only the language of force. The latest escalation comes just before the burial of Iran's former supreme leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei. His funeral was initially expected to create space for renewed diplomatic efforts after days of mourning. Instead, the ceremony is unfolding alongside fresh airstrikes, missile exchanges, and increasingly hostile rhetoric from both Washington and Tehran. The renewed confrontation has also rattled global markets. Oil prices surged sharply following Trump's earlier declaration that the ceasefire was effectively over. Investors remain concerned that any prolonged disruption to shipping through the Strait of Hormuz could significantly affect global energy supplies and trigger wider economic consequences. The latest exchange of strikes demonstrates just how fragile the current situation has become. While Trump insists Iran now wants a deal, Tehran continues responding with military action and defiant statements. Whether negotiations resume or the confrontation escalates further will depend on decisions made in Washington and Tehran over the coming days. For now, diplomacy appears weaker than ever, while the threat of a broader regional conflict continues to grow.